10,000 Sentences, Answers to Questions, posted by Khatzumoto sometime prior to October of 2006. Update: 10,000 Sentences is dead. Let the MCD revolution begin. 1. How do you decide which sentences from your input to copy over to your SRS? This is a tough one. If you're like me, you're a greedy little hobbit who wants to know everything. So here are some tips. Pick the ones that stretch your knowledge slightly, not so much that you're lost, but not so little that you're simply tagging des on the end. One vague guideline when you learn, say, a noun, is to learn it with the verbs that act on it. Picking the ones you'd like to say or write one day is an excellent start. There are many sentences out there and you'll have to get pretty selective. Don't be like me and feel like you have to learn everything you see. Go for what seems the most valuable. The other thing about picking sentences from your input is that it takes a lot of mental energy. So the key there is to just keep going until you drop. Go until you're tired of it, then take a break from picking sentences, but never take a break from getting Japanese input. As far as possible, you should spend every waking hour, and maybe even sleeping hours if it doesn't keep you awake, receiving Japanese. 2. Where do you get the sentences? Internet, etc.? The short answer to that is anywhere and everywhere that native Japanese is spoken and written. More concretely, when I started, I got them from the Starter Oxford Japanese Dictionary. As the name implies, it is very good for starters, but you'll soon outgrow it. 2chan is perhaps the most famous Japanese forum site. It's got a forum for every interest. Here, you can read a lot of the words of just regular Japanese people. There's lots of both slang and more formal toned discussion. As you may be aware, it was the starting point of the train man phenomenon. Electronic dictionaries like the Canon IDF 3000 and later the Canon V80 have been key sources of sentences. These can be quite expensive, so do shop around a bit. Internet dictionaries. If you don't yet have an electronic dictionary and/or a software dictionary, the Yahoo Online Dictionary is a decent substitute. It has tons of example sentences in both the bilingual Japanese, English, and the monolingual Japanese sections, respectively. But be careful of any example sentences labeled kanyo hyogen. These are awkward, do not use them. Jim Breen's www.jdic is the place to look up the pronunciation of Japanese names in the Translate Words section. However, the example sentences on the site sometimes contain errors. They are mostly good, but I would avoid them just to be safe. You don't want to go learning erroneous Japanese, and when sentences are your primary learning medium, you need to be able to trust what you read 100%. The Yahoo Online Dictionary is mostly based on highly regarded, rigorously edited paper dictionaries that have been around for a while. Decades? www.jdic is a bit newer and more open source. Don't get me wrong though, I mean no disrespect to Dr. Breen. In February 2005, I installed the Japanese version of Windows XP on my computer. This was an important move. It is also a reversal of our typical idea of cause and effect in that it is not that you know so much Japanese that you can use a Japanese OS. Rather, it is by using a Japanese OS that you learn a lot of Japanese. If you use a computer a lot, consider turning it fully Japanese. And of course, there are the usual suspects. Movies, books, dramas, dramedies and soap operas, news and videos. Fuji News Network's online newscast can be depressing, but it's how I learned to understand the news. Yomiuri Online recently, 2005-ish, started podcasting a lot of both audio and video content for free. You don't need an iPod to watch or listen to it. They also have a superbly written geek section. If you're a fan of BitTorrent, then the good people of D-Addicts record shows from Japanese TV, sometimes complete with commercial breaks. uTorrent is a good BitTorrent client. When it comes to movies, I watched a lot of dubbed Hollywood movies because A, I knew I already liked the movie, and B, I already knew the situation and what dialogue to expect. Dubbed Hollywood movies can guarantee you both enjoyment and learning. I love Star Trek, Seinfeld, and Will Smith. You can find Japanese versions of these on Amazon.jp. These usually come with Japanese English audio and Japanese English subs. If you don't have a Japanese DVD player, then a PC or region-free DVD player will work for playing DVDs purchased in Japan. You can score a region-free player in the $50 to $100 range, shipping included, without breaking a sweat. JList and Amazon.com are good places to start. A word of caution, never use English subtitles. You won't learn any Japanese, you'll just depend on the English subs. In my case, I have watched Japanese movies with English subs, but then had memories of watching it in English. So if you have English subs, turn them off and keep them off. As far as books are concerned, manga are an absolute bomb for learning real Japanese. Personally, I prefer stories that are somewhat grounded in reality. In fact, there is even some very good non-fiction manga out there, such as the Life of 4.6 Billion Year Journey series produced by the NHK. Anything written by Kaiji Kawaguchi will be very interesting. Again, Amazon.jp will be happy to sell to you. Japanese translations of good English books abound. Just like with dubbed movies, they give you the advantage of having a clue of what to expect going in. About half my book collection is Japanese translations, the other half is homegrown Japanese books. In college, I even got Japanese editions of my computer science textbooks. Once again, Amazon.jp will hook you up. It is important that, when you hear spoken Japanese, you get independent written confirmation of what was said. So if you hear a sentence in a movie, you want to confirm it with the Japanese subtitles. Of course, there aren't always Japanese subtitles for you to confirm with, so some solutions are to ask a Japanese person to confirm, or get a dictionary, look up the words you think you heard, and use the dictionary's example sentences instead of the sentence that you think you heard. Here's a little dictionary trick. If you ever come across a word that you want to learn, but that has no example sentence, then use the definition itself as your example sentence. 3. Do you make example sentences for grammar points or just vocab? Yes, both. One of the best books for that is Naoko Chino's All About Particles. Back in the day, I learned at least one example for every grammar point in the book. For a solid foundation in Japanese grammar, few books can be more highly recommended. Tad Perry's legendary, free, Quick and Dirty Guide to Japanese Grammar is also a keeper in terms of the example sentences. Read the explanations, but don't bother to memorize them, and don't worry if you don't understand them. Focus on getting the example sentences. Last, but absolutely not least, Tae Kim offers brilliant, lucid explanations of Japanese grammar in his Guide to Japanese. Great for example sentences, and a good place for you to go to find out stuff that I had to figure out. 4. I have a decent level of skill. Do you think I should jump into the J to J cards? Yes, absolutely. Start as soon as possible and reap the rewards. Or sow them. Or whatever farming metaphor you like the best.